Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something that's sure to get your taste buds tingling: food and wine tourism.
Sounds delicious.
It really is. And it's become so much more than just grabbing a bite to eat while you're on vacation. It's really about immersing yourself in a place through its unique flavors and traditions.
Absolutely. And meeting the people behind those culinary creations.
Exactly. Like you're not just seeing the sights, you're experiencing a culture through your stomach.
I love that.
Me too. And the sources you shared for this deep dive, they really take us on a global journey, from the vineyards of France and Italy to the bustling street food scene in Thailand. I mean, just thinking about it gets me excited to explore.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we can't forget the robust flavors of Argentina, too.
Of course not. We'll be exploring destinations, sure, but also diving deep into like the heart of what makes these culinary experiences so special. So, where do you want to start?
Well, I think France is always a good place to begin, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. I mean, France is practically the synonymous with fine dining.
Right. And the sources mention Bordeaux and Burgundy as like classic wine regions.
Oh yeah, always hear about them, but what makes them so iconic beyond just the name?
Well, take Bordeaux, for example. It's really known for its unique terroir.
Terroir.
Yeah, it's like a fancy word for the specific combination of soil, climate, and grape varietals.
Yeah, got it.
And all those things together give the wines their distinct character. Think, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, aged in those oak barrels. It gives you those, complex, full-bodied wines you often think of when you hear Bordeaux.
So it's like it's not just the grapes themselves, it's this whole like recipe of the environment that makes it special.
Exactly.
Wow. And what about Burgundy? I feel like that name always comes up too, but I'm not really sure why.
Well, Burgundy is all about Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and it's famous for its incredibly specific vineyard plots. We're talking some so small they're practically gardens. Oh yeah, and this hyper-focused approach to winemaking combined with, the cool climate and the limestone-rich soils, well, it results in wines known for, elegance and finesse.
So it sounds like Burgundy is all about capturing those subtle nuances, whereas Bordeaux is a bit bolder, right?
That's a great way to put it, yeah. It's interesting how different regions can have such distinct personalities, even within the same country.
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, our sources also contrast France with Italy, which is another culinary powerhouse, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
But instead of focusing on specific regions, the material emphasizes, like Italy's regional diversity. So, what stands out to you about the Italian approach?
Well, I think what's captivating about Italy is that each region, they boast their own distinct culinary traditions, almost like, mini countries within a country.
I like that, like little culinary countries.
Right. It's like the food reflects the unique history and landscape of each place.
Oh, that's cool. So instead of like one overarching Italian cuisine, you have all these distinct um, culinary dialects almost.
Precisely.
I love that. So you had the fresh seafood and lighter flavors of the coastal regions. You've got the hearty meat-based dishes of the mountains, and then, of course, those comforting pasta dishes like, what was it, hand-rolled peachy from Tuscany
Peachy. Yeah.
that are just, I mean, world famous.
Absolutely.
And we can't forget about pizza either.
Oh, of course not.
I know Naples is like considered the birthplace of pizza, but what makes Neapolitan pizza so special that people travel from all over just to have a slice?
It's almost ritualistic, the way they prepare it. Specific types of flour, specific tomatoes. And the dough, it's made with a very precise amount of water and yeast. And then they cook it quickly in a wood-fired oven at super high temperatures.
Wow.
Yeah, and that results in this soft, slightly charred crust, usually with simple, fresh toppings.
So it's all about those like carefully honed traditions and techniques.
Mhm.
That's what gives it that special something.
Exactly. Neapolitan pizza is a real testament to the power of culinary heritage, like the way food can really connect us to the past.
That's a great point. And it actually segues perfectly into Spain because the sources really emphasize its vibrant tapas culture, which also has that strong connection to the past and the social element.
Definitely. I mean, tapas aren't just small dishes, are they? They represent like a way of life in Spain, sharing food with friends and family, those long conversations, and just enjoying that leisurely pace of dining.
It's about the experience, not just the food.
Right.
And they mentioned Rioja wines being a key part of that whole tapas experience, too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even I've heard of Rioja, which is saying something. But why is it so popular?
Well, Rioja is from a region in northern Spain, and it's known for its full-bodied, robust wines, mostly made from the Tempranillo grape.
Okay.
And they're often aged for like extended periods in oak barrels, which gives them that distinct vanilla and spice character.
I see. So we've got France with its focus on terroir, Italy with its regional diversity, and then Spain with its emphasis on sharing and conviviality, each offering something totally unique.
Exactly. And we've only just scratched the surface of Europe. Our sources take us even further to a culinary scene that's vastly different, the street food of Thailand.
Oh, I've always been fascinated by street food culture and the sources. They paint such a vivid picture of like Thailand's culinary landscape. But for someone who wants to experience those authentic flavors,
Yeah.
like what are some must-try dishes?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Thailand's street food is like a symphony of flavors. You've got spicy, sour, sweet, salty, even bitter, all playing together. Imagine yourself at a bustling night market. Woks sizzling with fragrant curries, vendors grilling skewers of marinated meats, and oh, those colorful displays of fresh fruits and vegetables. It's incredible.
It's a sensory overload the best way possible, right?
Absolutely. And must-try dishes. Definitely got to have pad thai. That's a stir-fried noodle dish with a sweet and savory sauce. And tom yum soup. That one's known for its spicy and sour broth. And then there's green curry, a fragrant coconut milk-based curry. And of course, you can't leave Thailand without trying mango sticky rice.
Mango sticky rice.
Oh, it's a classic dessert that perfectly balances sweet sticky rice with juicy mango and a sprinkle of salty coconut cream. So good.
It sounds amazing. Okay, last stop on our whirlwind food tour, Argentina. The source is highlighted as the land of tango, steak, and Malbec wine. What sets Argentine cuisine apart from the others we've talked about?
Well, Argentina's culinary identity is deeply rooted in its gaucho culture.
Gaucho.
Yeah, it's all about, horsemanship, open fire cooking, a real love of meat. Think, hearty, robust flavors, simple preparations, focus on quality ingredients.
The sources mentioned asada, which is like a big barbecue feast, right?
That's it, a real social gathering. They slow cook a variety of meats, beef, pork, lamb, over an open fire, often served with chimichurri sauce, which is a blend of herbs, garlic, and vinegar.
I'm already picturing myself by a crackling fire, enjoying those smoky flavors.
It's an experience.
And I'm guessing Malbec wine is the perfect pairing for all that grilled meat.
Oh, absolutely. Malbec is Argentina's flagship grape. It produces these dark, full-bodied wines, notes of plum, blackberry, and often a hint of smoke. Perfect match for those rich, savory flavors of Argentine cuisine.
So we've traveled from the refined vineyards of France to the bustling street food stalls of Thailand, and finally to the smoky asados of Argentina. What a range of experiences.
Mhm.
But our deep dive doesn't stop there. The sources go beyond just destinations and really highlight the immersive nature of food and wine tourism, which is where it gets even more fascinating.
I agree. It's not just about what you eat and drink. It's about truly engaging with the culture, the stories, the traditions behind those culinary experiences.
Let's unpack that further in the next part of our deep dive.
It's about more than just, reading about it in a travel magazine or something.
Right, like actually getting your hands dirty, right?
Exactly.
And speaking of getting hands-on, the sources really dive into this growing popularity of wine tourism. And it's gone way beyond just, swirling and sipping in a tasting room.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's become so much more immersive these days.
Like what? What kinds of things?
Well, imagine, strolling through these beautiful sun-drenched vineyards, learning about all the different grape varietals, and actually witnessing the whole process, like from grape to bottle.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's amazing.
It really gives you a sense of like becoming part of that winemaking tradition,
Yeah.
not just, a casual observer.
Exactly. And a lot of wineries now, they offer experiences that go even deeper.
Oh, like what?
Well, you can participate in like harvest festivals, learn about the art of blending wines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and even try your hand at creating your own unique blend.
I love that, like taking a souvenir home that you actually crafted yourself.
Right. And one winemaker, he was quoted in the sources, and he really captures the essence of this shift. He says that, like, when people come to his vineyard and they see that whole process, from grape to bottle, it gives them this whole new level of appreciation for the wine they drink.
Like understanding the story behind each sip.
Exactly. And this, hands-on approach, it's gaining traction in food tourism in general, too. People aren't just satisfied with, just eating anymore. They want to learn those techniques, the traditions, the secrets behind the dishes they love.
Absolutely. Like I saw a friend's pictures recently. She took a cooking class in Tuscany,
Mm-hmm.
making pasta from scratch. The joy on her face, It was just priceless.
It's contagious, that kind of enthusiasm.
It is.
And it's about connecting with a culture through its culinary heritage. Like,
Hmm.
imagine yourself in a bustling market in Thailand, learning how to balance those delicate flavors of a green curry, or mastering the art of, rolling sushi in Japan.
It's an art form.
It is.
Yeah.
The sources mention some really intriguing examples of these, like, immersive food experiences, like truffle hunting in Italy. That sounds like an
Oh,
adventure.
yeah, that's on my bucket list.
Truffle hunting is amazing. It's not just about finding those prized fungi. It's about, like, understanding the whole relationship between the truffles and the trees and those trained dogs that sniff them out. It's a glimpse into a world that most people never get to see.
It really makes you appreciate those shavings of truffle on your pasta even more, knowing, the effort and expertise that went into finding them.
Absolutely. And speaking of appreciating the source of our food, the sources also highlight the rise of these farm-to-table dining
Oh,
experiences.
yeah. Farm to table, it's everywhere these days.
It's so popular. And it's not just about eating a meal. It's often about, like, visiting the farm itself. You meet the farmers. You see firsthand how those ingredients are grown, harvested.
It's about like closing the gap between, the producer and the consumer.
Exactly. And it often takes place in these, beautiful rural settings, which adds another layer of enjoyment to the whole thing.
Makes you think differently about, where your food comes from.
For sure.
And that actually brings us to a really important aspect of modern food and wine tourism that the sources emphasize: sustainability.
Oh, yes. Travelers are becoming much more conscious, I think, about the impact of their choices, not just on the environment, but on local communities, too. It's not just about indulging yourself anymore. It's also about making sure that those tourism dollars are being used responsibly.
That makes sense. There's a quote from a sustainable tourism expert in one of the sources that really stuck with me. She says, "It's about supporting local farmers and producers, protecting traditional foodways, and, minimizing our footprint on the planet."
It's about traveling with a conscience, right?
Mm.
Being mindful of where our food comes from and how it's produced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the sources offer some great advice on how we can, make more sustainable choices, like choosing wineries and restaurants that prioritize organic and biodynamic practices,
Yeah, that's a good one.
or seeking out accommodations like hotels that are, committed to environmental conservation and fair labor practices.
Things like that, yeah.
And, being mindful of food waste, supporting local markets,
Yeah.
even just carrying your reusable water bottle, like all those little choices can really add up.
They really can. It's about, aligning our values with our travel experiences. And it's really encouraging to see that sustainability is becoming, increasingly important in the world of food and wine tourism.
It's a shift that benefits everyone: travelers, the local communities, and, the planet itself. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from those iconic wine regions to bustling street food markets, immersive culinary experiences, and the growing emphasis on, sustainability.
We have. But there's one more layer I think we need to explore: the ethical considerations surrounding food and wine tourism.
Right, the sources touch on that a bit.
Yeah.
Let's delve into that in the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about all these amazing experiences, but we also need to be aware of, the impact we have as travelers.
Right,
It's
exactly.
easy to get caught up in, like, the excitement of trying new foods and visiting these incredible places.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But how can we make sure we're doing it responsibly,
That's a great question, and the sources definitely touch on some key ethical considerations. Like,
Mm.
one thing that comes up is, how do we make sure our tourism dollars are actually benefiting those local communities,
Right.
rather than just ending up in the pockets of, like, big corporations or outside interests?
Yeah, that's important.
For sure. So it's about, seeking out experiences that support those smaller businesses, like, a family-run winery, or a market stall selling traditional crafts, or a restaurant that gets its ingredients from, local farms.
Yeah, like making those conscious choices to really support the local economy.
Exactly. And it's also about, how we interact with people when we're traveling,
Mm.
respecting local customs and traditions, maybe even learning a few basic phrases in the local language, even just
Mhm.
smiling and, making that effort to connect on a human level.
Yeah, just being mindful of, like, you're a guest in this place.
Right, exactly.
And, your actions have an impact.
For sure.
The sources also bring up the issue of cultural appropriation, especially when it comes to food.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
It is. Like, how do we appreciate and celebrate different culinary traditions
Right.
without, exploiting them or misrepresenting them?
It's a delicate balance. I think it's about approaching those traditions with humility
Yeah.
and a genuine desire to learn, asking questions, listening to the stories behind the dishes, really acknowledging the cultural significance of the food you're enjoying.
Yeah, because food is so much more than just, sustenance. It's tied to history, it's tied to
It's
identity.
heritage, it's community.
Nice
That's
thing, right?
not just a trend.
Right. And another ethical aspect the sources touch on is the environmental impact of, well, of our food choices, especially when we're traveling.
Yeah, that's something we all need to think about more.
It's true. It's easy to get swept up in, the whole experience.
Yeah, you want to try everything.
Exactly. But like, are we supporting restaurants that are sourcing their seafood sustainably?
Hmm.
Are we, being mindful of water usage in areas where water is scarce? Are we choosing accommodations that are, trying to minimize their environmental impact? These are all things we need to ask ourselves.
For sure. It's about aligning those values with our actions and realizing we can make a difference, even if it's just in small ways.
Right. And the sources do offer some, practical tips for making more sustainable choices.
Like what?
Well, supporting organic and biodynamic farms, seeking out restaurants that prioritize local and seasonal ingredients, being mindful of food waste, even just, something as simple as carrying a reusable water bottle.
Those little things add up, though.
They do. It's about making those conscious choices.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that food and wine tourism isn't just about, indulging our senses. It's also about making those conscious choices that benefit both ourselves and the world around us.
Well said. So here we are at the end of our deep dive into the world of food and wine tourism. We've explored iconic destinations, talked about immersive experiences, the growing importance of sustainability, and, the ethical considerations that come with it.
It's been a really fascinating
It
conversation.
has. And hopefully it's got everyone thinking about, their next culinary adventure.
Where will your taste buds take you next? That's what I want to know.
Exactly. What flavors are you curious about? And how can you travel in a way that aligns with your values?
Right, and leaves a positive impact on the places you visit.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Food and wine tourism has this incredible power to, connect us with different cultures, broaden our perspectives,
Yeah,
and create those truly unforgettable memories.
couldn't agree more.
But it's a journey we should undertake with, awareness, respect, and a commitment to responsible and ethical practices.
That's the key.
So to everyone listening, go out there, explore, savor the flavors of the world, and bon appétit.